What is good, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Stay Attached podcast. Today, we are here joined by the one, the only JP Krez, who is a coach slash analyst for OpTic. He used to coach my team on the New York Subliners, or be an analyst for our team. And he's also, he won the World Championship this year in 2024. He helped founded COD Stats way back when for those OGs. JP, appreciate you joining the show. How you doing today?
Hey, appreciate you having me on this whole time. I've been trying to get on this podcast, and then you reached out, and I was like, damn, I got to go on. I saw Damon's episode. I've been watching everyone else. Everything's popping off. So I appreciate you for inviting me on.
Yeah, you finally hit the entry fee, because if the viewers didn't know, it actually costs $2,500 for people to come on the podcast. So every guest
I don't know if you got
see,
my wire yet or what's up.
But, I'll check. We're not going to air the episode until I hit the wire. So if the episode airs, that means the wire has been hit. So I appreciate the donation. Nah, but for real, thank you for coming on, taking the time, because I know you've been super busy winning tournaments. Just taking over the world essentially.
I don't know about taking over the world, but a little here and there win, and the champs win, and you were the youngest to do it, so at least what it's feeling like. So
yeah, that was the prehistoric days. I don't even remember what it was. That's a whole nother lifetime, it feels like. But
you were going back to high school after winning.
Yeah, that was a wild time. But just talking about your guys' team this year, your recent success, I really want to start with Ant, because from the outside looking in, at least for me, and I feel like other players really appreciate him. Maybe not Aches, but you really get to see just how impactful he is in the game, the plays he's making. Even if he has a 1.03 KD, he's still making insane plays that are you're wow, this is a good play. This is a winning the map type of play, or winning the hill type of play, winning the round in S&D. And of course, you work with Ant behind the scenes every day. You have for a couple seasons now. What do you think of him as a player, as a person, and the impact he brings to a game?
Yeah, I mean, first as a person, that dude's the nicest kid ever. That dude doesn't get mad. He's super chill. He's a great leader in that sense too, where he's always bringing the vibes and keeping everything under control that way. But as a player, he's definitely the most talented person I've ever coached in terms of combining game knowledge with actual mechanical skill. You put those two together, and the way he plays is everything's for the win. Sometimes it looks like he might get over aggressive someplace, but it's in his mind, he realizes what he needs to do to help everyone out. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing for me. It's he's the most, or one of the most selfless players I've ever had to work with. And if he's having this impact where he can start making these plays, or being, chaotic on this part of the map, or doing something where he's opening something else up for another player, it's so impactful for the rest of the team, because they're just feeding off of that, and it just makes everyone's lives so much easier. And you can see that in the game. If he's popping off, everyone else is popping off. And when he has a down game, sometimes we have a down game as a team, because he just can't open the things up like he is normally able to sometimes. So it's obviously, I'm super grateful to have him on our team, because he's just so talented in every area, especially, with the plays that he's making, and especially in that sub role where you need to be making those plays. Yeah. That he's just, again, like you said, just so impactful for the team.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch your guys' team, or any team that Shotzy's really been a part of, if Shotzy's having one of his takeover games in the moments, there's nothing really the other team could do, unfortunately. Yeah. You could watch a Fortress Hardpoint from last year, and when Ant was doing his thing, he's flying top art to top maps to this to there, everywhere. There's just nothing you could do, and it's easy points for your team. Your teammates barely are seeing anyone. They're cleaning up kills while people are one shot, and the other team, all four of them, are trying to focus on where Ant is and trying to locate him to kill him first. And it just,
because he's such an important kill because he's so pushed up, and you're just we have to kill him. There's nothing else we can do. We need to focus him. And it's just he's just diving out, and
you can't just run by and try to get to the hill, or he's shooting you in the side now. Then he's running back in and diving around. It's terrible.
For you especially, you as a player, you're probably just how the fuck do we track this dude?
Yeah, it really is untrackable sometimes. And there's very few players with the talent Ant to do that. I mean, the only point of views I would say that look similar are him and or Shotzzy and Hydra. The only two.
Paco for sure has that talent too.
Yeah, because Andy even said when he came on the show, he's when I watched Paco, I was hold up, is that me? It was kind of the Spider-Man meme of them. They look so similar with how they play the game, and the way they're just able to get out of the craziest situations and still live. Yeah. But enough gas for Ant. We gassed him up enough already. Let's talk about Brandon Dashy, because I know there's been lots of said about him over the years. He's not a winner. He's not this. He's not that. He's super talented, but he can't do this. And I feel like really this year is when we saw Brandon like transform into this a hill player while still having the clutch factor in S&D, still able to take over games when he needs to, and of course one of the best shots we've ever seen in Call of Duty. What has that been like to like help develop that and just work with him on a daily basis?
I mean, it's awesome to see like his transition. So like in MW2, when he came back on the team after Seth retired, that's when you first started to see that change of him playing a little bit more like, you know, hill. I don't want to say for the win, but it's like kind of changing his mindset on how to play for the win, if that makes sense. And like through that, and this was like the first, I would say, full year, and it's just it's so cool to see because he completely changed the way he used to play. Like he was always like, you know, if I'm not hard carrying, we're not winning. But it's like he kind of took a step back, realized what he needed to do for the team, and now he does that like every time. Like people don't give him credit for how like smart gameplay wise he is too. You know, sometimes he's over challenged just a little bit, but that's just, dude, if I had a shit shot, I would be doing the same thing. Like I'm not, if I'm taking a 1v1 on anyone, I'm putting him in my spot because that guy's shot is the most insane I've ever seen. But the way like he now thinks about the game and can play around what he wants to do in terms of having to help the team has been so beneficial for us, and like obviously helped us, you know, win, you know, champs as well. But not even just champs, but even just all the good placings that we've had the last 2 years. Like we've been in, I want to say like 9 or 10 finals since he's come back, and yeah, the way he's like played now, especially with, you know, being able to, you know, take his gameplay and bounce it off of Ant and bounce it off of like also Ken as another AR duo, and you know, same with AG as well. But specifically those two, he can bounce off those players like really well, and it just helps him out so much.
Yeah, and I mean, Ken and AG, like they came in this offseason. I think it was kind of weird because I think the people that know Call of Duty, the players and people that like, understand the game, all were like, "Oh, Ken's a really good pickup for OpTic. What he's gonna bring with leadership wise to scrims daily. Of course, he's still a very talented player in the game. He plays at a super fast pace, constantly putting pressure and making the game easier for his teammates and putting them in good positions. But like the community was a little like, "Oh my God, we're getting Kenny." Oh no, like some people, which was kind of crazy. It's kind of like, crazy.
I knew he was going to be a good pickup, but I didn't realize until we were in scrims how smart he is. Like out of all the people I've ever coached, like been in the room with, I think he might have the like #1 game sense in terms of like knowing what to do or knowing what the fuck's going on the map. Like he could be in another room and be like, "Yo, AG, you should have hit this route right here." Like, and I'm just thinking to myself, I have COD caster and I saw that. There's no way you should have saw that all spawn. Like you're across the map.
You're literally over here.
Like I've been obviously in the room with like you and Lamar and that whole New York team, Krim, Clay, you know, even and himself too. But like the way that he can think about the game is like second to none, honestly.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got Pred. I mean, Pred, you kind of knew what you were getting. You're getting the young, hungry superstar. Everyone's been gassing. A super talented, great playmaker for his Seattle team before getting picked up. When you got Ken and AG, did it feel like, what were you thinking? Of course, like you coach a team, you work with the boys daily, but you're not spawning into the server. But were you kind of like, okay, like this team's insane. Like we're about to do something crazy with the roster? Or like, what was the feeling when you picked them all up or them two up?
Yeah, those two for sure. It was like, obviously we have the potential to, but we're still gonna have to work hard to like get there because we were gonna be facing like a bunch of other teams that are like now pack-a-punching and starting to get better as well. So obviously we always knew the potential was there, but it was still gonna be like a tough road because, you know, Toronto made changes to get better. New York, FaZe was, you know, making changes as well. So for us, it was like, we don't want to be the, you know, in the top 4. We want to be, you know, potentially winning these champs and, you know, getting in the finals or whatever. So the biggest thing for AG is like that dude is a competitor. Like if I had to choose one person to send out into like a, you know, gladiator pit for anyone on our team, I'm choosing him, and it's not even close. Like the way he competes is like a true, I don't know, I want to say like a true athlete. Like he's going to get hyped. He's going to get in the mix with you, like going to battle basically for every match. And that's what I really respect about him, because the way he unlocked Ant this year in terms of getting hype, like you would never see Ant be the type of person to stand up after a match and like, you know, yell at somebody or point at them. That was just never the Ant I knew last year, or even like in scrims or anything. He would never get that hype, but him getting up in matches this year, especially like Major 3 and finals or and champs where we won, it was just like seeing a whole different side of him. And I think that was what, AG brought to the table, because he was able to, really unlock that out of him.
Yeah, no, it was awesome to see like AG bring that energy, and then because it sounds like in every comm he's just gassing his teammates. His teammate could shoot a guy in the back that's one shot, and AG's like, nice. It's like he's just getting so hype. And then of course, Ant, I don't think we've ever really seen Shotzzy even like get hype. Like I can't remember Shotzzy getting hype before this season at all, really. But there was multiple times this season. I mean, at Champs, he pulled off that insane play on Invasion S&D versus New York. And then he stands up, you are fucking dog shit. Like pointing at someone, whoever he smoked. Like it's awesome to see. Of course, you did talk about like, yeah, we need to get on the same page. We need to work together, because like we've seen multiple times teams have put talent together. It hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
The teams have failed. They didn't win. They didn't live up to their standards, which was winning, especially for a roster this good that you constructed or helped construct. What was your guys' biggest struggle, or like what was the adversity you faced throughout the season, like to reach that level?
I think it was our search at some points. I think like Major 1, we didn't really have a good search game, and even towards like Major 2, there was just a couple of maps, but we really focused. Like we were like, if we were gonna win a tournament, we needed to get better at search, 100%. And that's what like Major 3, we got really good at invasion search. That was like our core key game mode. Going into at least the Sunday where we beat them, like we beat FaZe, New York, and Toronto on invasion search to win the tournament. And then it took a step back, and we kind of reverted back in Major 4 where we were, making even more mistakes and respawns. We weren't winning searches. We went on a 12-game losing streak in search, and we were like, okay, again, if we want to, actually turn this around and win at champs, we need to fix the search, because there's no way that we're, winning champs and still going on the searching losing spree. So it was always that, up and downs with the search that was always, that downside for us. I think we were always really like confident and competent in our respawns, especially hardpoint. Because I felt we were a really good hardpoint team. Controls were probably like 50-50, but it was really that search where it was like, if we were going to be, that top contender going for champs and going for, finals, our search needed to be better.
For sure. Because I mean, search and destroy, like everyone says, it's a cliche saying, search and destroy wins championships, because like respawn you can only be so good at. I think you guys were probably the best hardpoint team like statistically this season. But there's gonna be moments
if you're going
where,
game 5 and you lose a control, you're just screwed at that point.
You lose this map 2, you lose the map 3, you're potentially getting Neslo'd. You got to be able to clutch up map 5, and like I feel like Invasion S&D was that map for you guys. Like you guys are really 100%. Good at that map. You guys are really, really good at that map. And I mean, it paid off. Look at, you won a Major 3, you won champs, and then you guys had top placings the whole season, except for Major 4. But it's like, okay, you bomb out one stage, it is what it is. You're at minimum worst top 3 every other stage, which is still very impressive in itself. And then I know you joined OpTic a few seasons ago, and you've had a couple new players since then, a couple changes and everything. And everyone's kind of talking about OpTic, how it's like this big content powerhouse and everything. Have you what's your take on your players doing content with OpTic and then also scrimming? Because OpTic does it right. Like that's why they're the biggest team for a reason. That's why they have the biggest personalities and biggest following for a reason, because they put the work in. But like, how would you balance the content and the scrimming?
Yeah, I mean, as long as it doesn't interfere with like our prep or scrim time, like the boys, like they, again, like honestly, to give them credit, because a lot of teams aren't doing it. Like, dude, they're getting up at 10 o'clock, or sorry, they're having their content at like 10 or 11 on like Mondays or Tuesdays before practice even begins. So it's not like we're always taking off during practice to do this content. Like they're taking time out of their mornings to help with the content, and that's just like obviously part of being on OpTic. So it's a lot of effort that's just required of them to be part of the OpTic powerhouse or whatever, to continue that building that brand and building the content up. So like you said, like even you doing your YouTube and doing your streams that like some players and some teams aren't really requiring or doing themselves, it just comes out as like something it's basically required to do, and something that you need to realize that is going to be helping you out just as much as like helping the team out, because after your playing career is done, like you want to have something to fall back on sometimes. And
Of course.
doing all that content stuff is always a good way to like keep your brand and keep your like eyes on you.
Yeah. And then going back to you personally, is kind of, it seems like it may have came out of nowhere when it did happen, because I know you were on like in New York for a little bit and doing like the stats and everything. But how did you actually end up joining OpTic? How did that come about? Who messaged you, and how did it all go down?
So it was my New York contract was ending, and it was kind of, I guess it was just like a mutual agreement from both of us that I was going to be like exploring options. So, I tweeted out basically saying I was a free agent, and I believe it was actually Hastro that had messaged me first. So Hastro, I think Ray was part of it as well. So they had messaged me, and I got a few offers from other teams, listened to them, but I think OpTic was always going to be like the choice that I was going to make.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I was like a pretty seamless, like 1 to 2 messages, a call here and there, and then we were good to go.
Boom, OpTic JP. And I know it's definitely like a big switch up because, like I said, with the content and everything, the cameras is different than joining every other org. And I know you've always been kind of like a low-key guy. You're not on the cameras. You're not playing on the stage. You're the one inputting the data, the numbers, getting everything figured out like that. And you've been doing that for so long in the COD community. How did it feel like when you did join OpTic and now there's a vlog every event, there's content going on? Like, how was this for you personally?
Oh, it was like definitely a little culture shift for me, because like I was like you said, before working for a team, I was still in the back end MLG tournaments. I was working the trucks and stuff. I was in front of the camera, like so going in front of a camera, it was first, I was apprehensive at first. I was like trying to shy away from anytime I see a camera, I'll be hiding in the shadows, kind of like Pages nowadays. But as soon as I realized everything's going to be caught on camera, I might as well just play the part out and stick out there. And I figured it was just at a certain point, just do it. Like, just have the confidence to do it, because you're just going to be on the camera regardless.
Listen, I know how consistent you are in the gym and how much you like working out. So don't be scared of the camera. Show those muscles off a little bit. Show that nice face off, and people are going to love you. That's all you got to do, JP. Just be yourself on the camera. It's easy.
I appreciate it. Coming from you, it's pretty easy with a good-looking man like yourself.
Oh, no. You're making me blush. But I just want to talk about like Esports World Cup, EWC, a little bit from your perspective. Because from my perspective, I was going to say the hospitality was insane. I missed the buffet. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
It was godlike.
Some of the best food I've ever had, and it was all free and everything. But what were some of like the highlights for you at EWC, and what do you think could have been work to be improved?
So honestly, the best part about it, obviously, like the hospitality, like you said, but the cool part was just seeing the support from fans from across the world. Like we had a meet and greet, and it was actually a pretty good turnout. And to see like literally people from across the world, like knowing who you are, or knowing the team and supporting the team, was a cool feeling, because we don't obviously have like tournaments outside the like North America.
Yeah.
And if anything, it would be in Europe. But to go in the Middle East and see that there are people that out there supporting you was like really cool. And shout out to them for obviously like coming out to the event and going to the meet and greet, so we can see them in person.
Yeah.
So that was like probably the best part about it. The worst, I don't know. I think to me the PPAs being so far away from the venue. Like if we had a hotel and had those PPAs at the venue and were able to like actually get a warm up, because like you guys probably realize you'd leave 2 hours before your match start, and at that point it's like, okay, did the warm-up scrim even happen? Like, is it even like a warm-up scrim at that point?
Yeah, because you're gonna get cooled off again.
Because you're gonna get cooled off. Yeah. You're sit in the shuttle that's 120 degrees, and then you're going on stage. So I would say that was probably the biggest thing, and especially like that content day. Obviously I love how they did the content, and the broadcast and production were like insane. But I don't even think we were able to scrim on that first day, because there was just back to back in the scheduling of it.
Yeah, I think it was crazy, because I remember seeing Brandon, I think at like 11 p.m. at night or something crazy. Literally. It was late. He's like, I just got done with content. As he's going in the elevator, I was like, you just got done with content. We all finished content like hours and hours and hours ago at like 2 or 3 p.m. and stuff. But I know, I think it was
that a shitty schedule, and then he had to do the that
video with
commercial
TJ,
like Paul X and TJ.
I think that's what it was. But that might have been the late night one. Was like the TJ where he's talking about some superb. That's superb.
Yeah.
Or I don't even know what TJ was saying. I don't know who told him to say that, but it looks so unnatural, which makes it look like a great video. Of course, there was some big news happening that the Falcons joined the CDL. Vegas Falcons is now the team. And they also announced that their challenge roster that they had that was competing in EU this past season will be the main team that's going to play in the CDL. Like, what are your thoughts on the Falcons in general joining, and then also, of course, like their their roster for it, and maybe some of the challenges they'll face in the CDL now?
Yeah, so I think it's great that an organization that's willing to like put in the effort and put in the money to
For sure.
actually invest in the CDL is great. The roster is weird because you're not expecting them to be, a talented roster. You're expecting them to be just EU challengers, but I think there's a way for them to go about it where it could be really beneficial for them. The practice is probably going to be really hard from the start, but if they can, remain composed and actually, learn the game at a high level and actually take away stuff from the scrims, I think it could be like a good scenario for them. But, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows for them. If I'm going to be honest, I think a better opportunity for them would first start in the NA challengers, learn the game a little bit more, get practice against, teams that aren't probably going to be so dominant against them. But, maybe who sees, or who knows, I might be just underestimating them myself. But I think a safer route were to be, first start with challengers and then work your way up. But if they want to, dip them into the CDL right at the start, trial by fire. Like at that point, that's, you're going up against the top competition. You either sink or swim. So it'll be on them to get that good practice, remain composed, and then hopefully, try and get better.
Yeah, that's just the biggest thing, just the practice, because they're going to be playing against the best players in the world now, the best teams in the world. So it's just like, how fast can they really improve? That's just the biggest question mark. Like if they can take what they need to from those scrims and practice days and implement it, like the quicker the better. It could pay off and we could really see some progress, because they are like pretty good at SND. I think did they went game 5 with Lore. Mm-hmm. They did go game 5 with Lore, who won Challengers Champs NA. So it's really not like they're that far off. Like, it's not like they got smoked by everyone. Of course, they got 3-0 by FaZe. The first half of like maps 1 and 2 were close, but I mean, it's FaZe. Let's be honest. Except for like 4 teams or 3 teams in the league get smoked by FaZe the same way. So it is what it is. But I definitely think that the early scrims and just trying to improve as fast as they can will be the most important. But going back to like the early days of just getting into like gaming and everything, like what was the first title, game, or console that you played growing up?
The first console I played, the first one I played was at a friend's house. I played the N64 GoldenEye. That was the first like game I actually played. That in Pokemon Stadium. But the first one I actually owned, if we're not talking about like a Game Boy, was I think it was a GameCube. I got for Christmas, I got the GameCube was Smash Melee, and that was my life for a little bit.
Yeah, that's
I was like
game.
5 or 6, and that was just me and my friends would just be going hard on that game.
Yeah.
And we were probably like horrible, but it was just the funnest game of all time.
Yeah. Did you have a certain character you would always use?
I actually I would use Roy or Link. Those are like my 2 that I would go back and forth, but apparently Roy is not even like meta, apparently, because I started watching Smash after, and I'm like, oh man, and the whole time I was a kid, I wasn't even using
you
the meta
were nerfing
guy.
yourself. Like, what are you doing?
Myself. I was literally giving myself a handicap. But
if you can go back in time and tell 6-year-old you, like, okay, practice was this one, maybe you'll go pro one day after.
Yeah, right.
You'll be competing at Evo and all the other different like fighting game tournaments.
Those get hype. Those get so hype. I actually love watching those.
They are passionate and it's crazy, and like it's dope. Because like I like how they just walk up, you plug it in, you start playing each other, and then it's just like that is dope. How like
and the game hasn't changed like for 20 years. They're literally playing out of the box 20 years, or what is it, 24 years, something like that.
Insane.
It's crazy.
Insane. Imagine if we played a Call of Duty game for 24 years. What game do you think it would be?
I mean, it's got to be either BO2 or BO3, right?
Yeah. I feel like it'd definitely be a Treyarch. It has to be a Treyarch game.
It has to be a Treyarch game
because like they probably have the most developer support. But yeah, probably like BO2. BO3. Honestly, I'm down for BO4. I like BO4 is underrated in my opinion.
You give me any of the Treyarch games, I'll play that shit.
But to be honest,
if we could go 4v4 BO4, no stim.
That could be something you might be cooking. I think we should honestly pick Black Ops 6 though. Just I personally think it's gonna be the best game of all time. So I think
it could definitely be the best.
Oh
game
no
of all
no
time.
no no! It is. Trust me, it's gonna be the best game of all time. You can quote me. It's going to be. I already know. I haven't played it yet, but I already know. Now, when did you get into like Call of Duty? Like, what was the first COD game you played?
First COD game. I believe I played the COD 3 campaign at my cousin's house. But the first one I owned was COD 4. I got the Xbox for Christmas. I got the Halo 3 COD 4 combo, like every kid at that point. Yep. Halo 3 was the first one I played, but then everyone was like, oh, this new Call of Duty game is so sick. So I was like, all right, I'll pick it up, convince my parents. It was so fun. I was absolutely like horrible though. I probably had like a 0.6, 0.7 because I'm like somewhere. 11 years old or 10 years old, whatever. And I just know I was having so much fun because it was like such a good game. But even though I was getting fried, I was like, I want to get better at this, and just you start grinding it for sure.
And then you didn't make your big break as a player or a content creator, but it was stats. How did you start working with computers, stats, data, and all that stuff? Because you're in a Call of Duty community where there's not very many smart people. Like the average IQ is probably 30. My IQ is probably 15. Like I'm definitely not the brightest, and my fellow peers aren't the brightest either. So how did you, someone who's intelligent, get into the COD scene and start working with all the stats and data?
It was a lot of hard work and luck. So I like to put the two together because it was Ghosts when we started. It was actually a Reddit post by Chris Puckett where he was like looking for volunteers to do stats, and I was like, oh, I'm watching the Ghost Pro League or whatever, or whatever the Pro League or tournaments. I think it was Columbus was the first event, and I was like, I'm watching these anyways. I might as well help out the team to do stat stuff. So it was like 10 of us just getting thrown into like a Skype call, and we just start tracking the stats because it was just not being tracked before. It was just all anecdotal, like, oh, this guy went off that tournament or whatever. So during Ghosts, we were doing that, and I was going to start college the next winter, or sorry, like the next fall. So I start college, and then that winter, I interned at the MLG studios because it was in New York, right near me. It was literally like just a train ride and then a 10-minute walk away.
That's perfect.
So I hit up Puckett. I was like, yo, could I intern at the MLG offices, whatever? They let me. So I was starting to write for their, like the esports report, if you remember that show.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was writing for like the back end, like storylines and stat stuff or whatever, breakdowns. And I just got super lucky where they were like, okay, you want to just intern the rest of the winter? And I was like, I guess I'm not doing anything. So yeah, sure. Yeah. Because I thought I was just going in there for like 1 or 2 days. It's like a tour for the office. But they let me intern for the rest of that winter. And, from there, I made the connections there, started going to the events from like, 2016 to 2019, because it was just like this side gig for me where I could go to school. Yeah. And then on the Thursday night I could leave, not have classes Friday, and I would go from Friday to Sunday for the tournament and leave Monday and get back to classes. So it was, the best side gig because you could just go for a weekend at the tournaments and then come back. And yeah, from there, I graduated 2018 and started working a little bit more with more of those tournaments. And then finally, after the BO4 season, I was actually looking to go to law school. I actually got accepted to law school, but then New York actually offered me a position there. So I was like, law school can wait a little bit, maybe. If anything, I'll have it down the line if I want to do that. Yeah. But this was a once in a lifetime type of thing. So I figured I'd at least defer for 1 year, see how it goes. And that's where our NYSL team was born.
The NYSL team, what a squad that was.
What a squad. What a vibey squad.
That was an insane team.
In New York, COVID.
In New York, COVID, a lot of personalities on it. But I want to talk about like school for a second. So what were you majoring in? And then what would your job be with your law degree? Like in what sector would you work? Would you be, working for people that get in trouble? Would you be getting people out of trouble?
No. So I was still always in like looking at to go into some type of esports or sports type thing. So I was majoring in labor relations, which is mostly like employer to employee relationships, and like unions, that type of stuff. So I was actually looking to go and be like, oh, I can help the esports unions, or do something esports contractually as in like an agent or something maybe.
Yeah.
But that was like what I would have done if I didn't end up working with a team.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like the route I was going towards.
Yeah, I probably would have done something similar if I went to school. I was very smart, very good. All the schools were trying to give me scholarships. Unfortunately, I had to turn them down to play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But talking about our New York team, there was definitely a lot of personalities. It was just like, it was like a movie every single day. You never know. Lamar and Donnie are yelling at each other. Tommy's just getting yelled at by everyone and yelling back. Trey's kind of just in the corner, not really saying much. We have 8 deep in a room that's not very big with 16.
No windows. It's hot as fuck.
Yeah, no AC, no windows. 16 PCs, monitors, everyone's sweating in there. That was crazy. What would you say is like your most memorable or like funniest moment being a part of that team?
Well, my most memorable is just honestly like just allowing you guys to kind of trust me just to learn the fucking game beforehand. Cause like I had never sat in a scrim. I had never been part of, a Call of Duty team before. So like you guys kind of getting me into the mix and being like, okay, this is how things work. And kind of me shadowing you guys and Bobble for like the first 3 or 4 months, because I barely said anything for like the first 3 or 4 months, I'm not gonna lie. And because I just was trying to learn everything that was going on, how to actually play the game. Because you're thinking you're going into the room and being like, okay, I know Call of Duty. The first 2 weeks, you're just like, okay, I had no idea what the fuck was going on team wise, what to do, like what a good play was or anything. So that honestly, that first whole year, I only got to work with you that 1 year, but I've grown so much more from that, because that was like me just getting an idea of what it is to be in a scrim or whatever, So honestly, the most memorable was just like you guys giving me that chance, honestly. So always grateful for you guys for helping me out with that.
That was so funny, because I just remember even like the workers, because of course we had our own little office room, and then there was actual like other workers, employees for like NYXL, NYSL. There was like the Overwatch teams and everything, but like the COD team was just so crazy, especially accuracy and temp with all like the yelling and stuff. So all the employees would hear everything, and then they'd be like scared to talk to the COD team.
Dude, they were actually so scared of us. I'm not gonna lie. But the funniest. I think the funniest was, do you remember when apparently they were giving fines for being late, and then Donnie is in his Gucci slides,
and he is running
to the office through the rain. Him and Tommy are both trying to get to the building as fast as possible so they weren't late.
Yeah. Dude, oh my god. So funny. And they were
and apparently I don't remember. Were you on the train that went the other way? The first day?
Oh yeah. The first day we went to Brooklyn, because we were supposed to go, because we lived in FiDi. We had to go to Union Square. We took the train the wrong way. We ended up in Brooklyn.
You guys took the train the other way, and we're like, where do you guys go?
It was so bad. And then the best part is we were at the station. We're like, okay, we need to go back. So we get back on the other train. For whatever reason, there was a lot of people or anything. So we all walk onto the train. Donnie just panics, stares at us. The train door closes. Now Donnie's stuck in Brooklyn. We're taking a train back to Manhattan, and it was just a mess. It was a mess. I
remember him saying like he saw some guy like throw up Frosted Flakes or something. Yeah, it was like a whole mess.
That's just a normal day in New York. You'll never know what you're gonna see. We've seen people get punched on the subways. We've seen people throw up Frosted Flakes. We've seen people pass out. We've seen people dancing, singing, doing shows. Like, you never know what you're gonna see in New York City. I think that's kind of the one of the fun parts about the city and living there. But it was fun to work with you. Of course, we won the home series, which was dope. It's always fun to like.
We got one in there.
We got one in there. It was a crazy time with COVID, just everything shutting down. And did you stay in the apartment the whole time, or did you go home? I think you went home when COVID
stayed
hit, right?
home. I stayed for like a first 2 weeks of COVID, and I was like, I'm out of here, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go back to my home like 20 minutes away. There's no way I'm saying this.
Yeah, your home's right there. Like, it makes sense to just go home real quick.
I just feel bad for you guys. I just wish we had a better experience of all of us living in the city at once with no COVID. Yeah, that would have been so much better. It would have been so lit.
Definitely New York City during COVID was not as fun, or a lot of people out, or anything going on. Everything was pretty much shut down, and I would take my little walks to CVS, get my canned food, and I'd eat that to survive. So it was pretty good. Like, you talked about what you learned with the team, and you said like you kind of got your foot in the door, you started learning everything. But you can kind of speak to this because you've seen like the numbers and stats. But what like were some of the things that you did learn for like some people that might not understand? Because like the audience watching who's not really invested in COD and can really spend the time to like even compete or play, and then also some people that might just watch casually. Like, what can you say to like describe it, because you really can only understand it if you've done it or you're there in the room living it.
So I mean, the biggest thing for me, which is it's funny because I was coming from a stats perspective and be like, oh, this is this person's KD, this is their kills, and like one of the first things you realize is just like not every kill and death is like equal to each other, like at all. And just because someone has a high KD doesn't mean they're playing for the win. And just because someone has a low KD doesn't mean they're playing for the win. Or they are playing for the win. Or the other way around, whatever it is.
Hey, there's a point where it's too low. There could be a point where it's too low. We're like, okay, there's something going on here.
Okay, if you're gonna 0.6, I don't know. There's something you gotta get me something, right?
Yeah.
But if it's like 0.9, you're like, that's just like a 1.0 if you're doing something perfect, So that was one of the biggest things, and it was funny because like I came from a stats background and I was always tweeting out stats and stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, I had this kind of backwards the whole time because you actually have to like there's so much to like the eye test that we don't have access to track some super advanced stuff like that yet, where it's like, okay, is this actually the most optimal route that you could be taking off spawn here or whatever? Like, is this where you should be filling in? But eventually I think it'll get to that where it's like, okay, this person is adding basically win percentage by taking this route because this is what's needed. This is a good play in
this moment,
book, So I think eventually it could get to that. That maybe is like the future of stats in Call of Duty or whatever, or competitive COD. But at the moment, I was just like, I was realizing, okay, this is a good play. Okay, he died for it, but it just got traded out right away, or he died for it, but now we have information that 3 of them are coming here. So that was obviously the biggest thing for me, that first year.
And then bringing it back to like this past season with you and your team, you guys had some interesting head-to-head matchups, of course, versus like the other top 4 teams. The one you really struggled with was FaZe. I think they had like a 7 wins versus you guys versus your only one time you beat them. What do you think was like the biggest issue with that FaZe team and why they always kind of had the upper hand in these matchups?
I think they were just always good at countering us. And especially like in the searches, we would always have to play like High Rise or Rio versus them. And we were never really comfortable on those 2 maps. We ended up beating them on the High Rise in Major 3. And that ended up helping us win that whole match to go to finals. And then we ended up playing them versus EWC. We play High Rise again, and they counter us bad. So they always kind of just had our number when it mattered most in those top moments. And I don't know, I think it was just the way they were playing specifically, and we didn't kind of like adapt later on until we beat them at Major 3 to how we really wanted to play against them.
Yeah.
And then EWC, I think it was just, we played that first hard point well, but then the S&D, they blew us out of the water and we just couldn't regain the momentum from there. So obviously we wish we could have had a better matchup against them, but at least we won the Major 3 one and won Major 3 off that. And we didn't end up having to face them at champ. It was such a weird rock, paper, scissors thing, because we would always beat New York. We didn't really have too much trouble against Toronto, except, online once, and then at Major 3 when they beat us, I think, in winners finals. But it was always like back and forth, and I think we had eventually the upper hand against Toronto, but it was just FaZe. And then it was like Toronto, they couldn't beat New York, but they can beat FaZe. And then like New York, they could, beat Toronto and FaZe, but they couldn't beat us. And it was just, I don't know, it was a weird matchup thing. I don't know if it was just the game or what.
Yeah, no, that is really weird. That's crazy. The good thing is you guys, I think, were the only top 4 team to beat every other team. Because I know, like you said, New York never beat you guys. Toronto never beat New York. FaZe never beat Wait, FaZe, yeah, or
Toronto,
no,
right?
yeah, FaZe never beat Toronto, so it was really
Yeah.
weird. But you guys at some point beat every single team, and then like with the head-to-head matchups versus New York and Toronto, do you think like the maps were just going your way? Certain play styles, like your guys' team play style just works better versus them, or like
Yeah, I
what
think it just
really
worked
gave you the
better
head-to-head like
for
versus those
sure.
two teams, and especially New York, because of course you guys didn't lose to them all season.
Yeah, I think we just the matchup. Yeah, again, like head to head better, and especially against New York, we just the way we wanted to play was just like kind of direct counter to how they were playing, anyways. Um, so yeah, that's how those matchups were. And then I think the FaZe one, it was just we were always getting good at maps against them after we had already lost them to them. Like Karachi Hardpoint, I don't think we beat them in the Karachi Hardpoint for a little bit, and then we end up getting better at Karachi Hardpoint later on in the year. Or same thing with like High Rise. We end up finally getting better on them than that. And then they were always a good control team. I think that was probably a difference maker. They were always good at control, especially against us. So even if we wanted to play invasion, which was always going to be like the map 3 for them, they always had our number in that invasion control for some reason.
Yeah, and then with you joining OpTic and now being on OpTic for what, it's 2 total seasons now, 2 years.
Yeah.
Of course, like we talked about earlier, like it's different from every other team, every other organization you could join in Call of Duty and stuff. And like, what have you? I've seen the streams, I've seen like your YouTube, like you're really trying to like get into that content where even then everyone knows like the opportunity and like the success it can bring with sponsorships, extra revenue, building your brand, whatever it can lead to down the line. Like, what have you just learned by being a part of this organization and like getting your foot in the door to like really start doing that content and starting to build that up right now?
Yeah, honestly, it's just foot on the gas. Like you have the opportunity. Obviously, with the OpTic brand, it's a little bit easier to get viewers and stuff like that. So you just kind of have to capitalize on it. Like there's no point just sitting around and just doing like the regular stuff when you could be doing the extra work to help yourself out later on. So for me, it was always weird because I wanted to do like analysis type stuff, but I didn't want to like give things away. But then I realized like a lot of the stuff that I would talk about, teams already know, or like it's not going into super depth of like how we're playing search or whatever. But like anyone that, like, even if we asked you like, oh, what would you do in this respawn play? Like you would know. So it's not like I was kind of giving anything away. So I always like had to toe that line at first, but then I realized like I could be making these videos and it's something that not really many people are doing right now. So I figured, I make the videos, let's see how we do. If the players have a problem with it or if Damon has a problem with it, I'll stop it right away. But I didn't have any complaints with that, and we were chilling. Honestly, the only time I really stopped was when we aren't doing well as a team or doing well, like during that major 4 run. I wasn't really posting or doing anything because I just felt like any free time that I wanted to do or any free time I wanted to spend was going to be free time, working on that rather than working on this extra stuff. So whenever we don't have to, not that we're not putting in extra work, but like if I know I'm confident in the team with what we're doing and how practice is going, then I can like take that extra time to do the content type stuff. But if it's come to a point where like we need to be focusing on how we're doing as a team, then I want to spend that extra time doing that.
Of course, and like being on OpTic with the most or the biggest following, when times are good, they're great. Everyone's gassing you up and everything. When times are bad, like the major 4 split you guys had, if you upload a YouTube video, everyone's like, JP, what are you doing uploading YouTube videos? You don't care about the team. You don't want to see the boys improve. Like, that's just how comments and stuff are going to be, whether they're in your YouTube comments, your streams. But what's your Twitch and YouTube, by the way? Of course, I'm going to link them in the description so people can check it out. But make sure you like shout those out. Just, hopefully get a couple extra viewers, subscribers, whatever it may be.
So everywhere on socials is JP Krez, Krez. You can find me there. Streaming. I'm trying to stream a little bit more during the off season now and do the YouTube especially because we don't have scrims or anything. So I gotta make my day worth it at some point.
Gotta keep yourself busy. You can't just sit on the couch all day and do nothing.
I'll hang out by the pool in the mornings, maybe stream in the afternoons. I don't know. We'll see. Like,
and then talking just about like the history of Call of Duty, if you could relive or go attend one event that you might have went to already that you want to do it again or you missed as a spectator, no bias, no team, no nothing, what event would you attend? Any year, any game?
What event? I'll take one that I didn't go to. I would have loved to gone to MLG Anaheim Black Ops 2 because I thought that was my favorite, like coming up as a spectator, as a fan during like right before that year. But like that was the first full year that I watched, and I was like, that Anaheim event looked so sick. The crowd was insane. There was like crazy storylines with OpTic, Impact, Complexity. So
Yeah.
that one definitely looked cool. And it was also one of those events where you had like all the other esports
Yeah,
too.
that was
So
sick.
yeah, definitely that Anaheim event. That would have been a sick.
I wish esports events still did that. Like if Call of Duty at least did like Call of Duty stage, like for our CDL stage, COD Mobile stage, Warzone. Like imagine the same
100%.
arena, because that was so fun back in the day when you would be there for a COD tournament, MLG Anaheim, Black Ops 2. You're watching it. Okay, match ended on main stage. You can just go watch the side station or watch open bracket, or there's a StarCraft at the other stage. The whole crowd's erupting, screaming. You're like, oh wait, I want to go see what's happening over there. Or if
Yeah,
StarCraft
exactly.
is calmed down, then there's Super Smash on the next stage over going absolutely crazy. So it was like there would just be different times, the crowds would make different noises, and I feel like there was just so many people there, so much energy in the room, and just like video games, esports.
Yeah.
And that was, I feel like, the best we've ever had it. And I hope one day it can get back to that, because I think that was a really special time for not only the players, the spectators, even the people watching on the stream, because you could hear the other crowds through the stream, and then you'd want to like check out what's happening over there. But that was just a special moment.
Yeah. Like the cross pollination was just insane with like esport to esport. And even if they didn't want to do that, where it's like, okay, this is going to be an Activision event, have COD Mobile and Warzone at the same one. Like I don't know if you were at the Raleigh event the other year, but we got knocked out. I was watching the COD Mobile. I watched a damn search to go to quadruple overtime or something because they have to win by 2. I was like, this is lit. And I was like, I don't know, if COD Mobile is so international, imagine we have like, a Tokyo event or something, Southeast Asian event or something. I don't know. It's probably a pipe dream, but
yeah.
That
Odds
would be
are
sick.
it'll probably never happen again,
events.
but we would love for it to happen, especially if Tokyo. I'm down. All you can eat sushi every single day.
Bro,
I'm eating sushi every meal. Oh my god, that would be insane. CDL Tokyo, please sign me up. I'm down.
Sign me up too.
And now, what event would you relive as a coach or an analyst?
Oh, the champs victory, like easily. I mean, that was the best feeling.
Say that? Of course.
It was just the realization of like our goal for the year, and like my goal that I set up to myself. I was like, yo, if ever a winner, that's the goal for me, like the career goal. Like if I'm gonna do this, like at some point I want to win a COD championship. Like we're gonna win. That would be cool. Or to have some type of impact on the team to help win a ring. Definitely the COD Champs one. Plus the atmosphere was insane.
Yeah,
the
it was loud.
360 venue of people just screaming. You could feel the energy from all different areas. Yeah, definitely the COD Champs.
And then just like walk us through a little bit of that weekend, like through each match, because of course you guys ended up winning it, but there was moments where it was kind of like a little sketchy. I know you guys had to reverse sweep LAT. How do you think like the last half of that series like helped the boys turned up? Was it the maps? What was it? The energy? Like how did that weekend play out from your perspective?
So obviously like the LAG match, I talked about in the process, but it was like we got to win the search. If we didn't win the search, we wouldn't have felt like this. It was a series win, and we wouldn't have had that momentum to go into search in the later rounds, because we were on that 12-game losing streak. If we lost it, it would have been 13 and tied the record. So winning the search was huge for that. Then we end up 3-0ing them. We go to the LAT match, and they just played. I mean, honestly, they played the first map really well. I just broke it down on stream, but there was only like 1 or 2 things that we probably could have done different. And then the search and destroy, we trolled like 2 different rounds, and we should have won that 100%. But they make the comeback on us. I think it was a 5-3 comeback.
Oof.
Then control Karachi. Honestly, their heads were always like pretty level. Like obviously it hurts to go down 2-0, but you heard in the process, like AG in the comms, like Brandon in the comms, all of them were just pretty still confident that they were, good enough to make this reverse sweep, even though, we did think LAT was a really good team at the time. So we ended up making the reverse sweep, and that just catapults you. That's, in my opinion, the one moment in the tournament where we're just like, okay, if we're gonna win this tournament, we're gonna look back on that match and be like, that was the one that set us into a whole new direction. Because we lose that, it's completely different. We make the comebacks, and now we're facing New York winners finals, and we always had New York's number throughout the whole year. So we obviously were going into it confident. It was some back and forth maps, and we end up pulling out the win. And then we go to grand finals again against New York. Again, we're feeling super confident.
I got a question real quick. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
For
good.
the Saturday going into Sunday, obviously it's not like another tournament. You're in the COD Champs grand finals now. There's one match on Sunday. Your team's about to be in that match as well. That would have been the first time your team's ever been in a COD Champs grand finals. Were you able to sleep the night before?
Not really. I slept maybe an hour, and I think it was fake sleep. I was thinking to myself, like, we got to prep for them. Obviously, like, we already prepped for them the day before, but I was like, I'm not going home being like, I could have stayed up an extra hour and we would have won the tournament if something, goes that way. So to me, I was like, I'm going to do everything and I'm not going to have any regrets after this and be like, oh, I slept for that hour. And that hour I could have found one little thing that could have, I could have told them and it could have helped them out, So that was always the thing with after champs is like, if you don't win champs, and you obviously probably feel this feeling after, winning it in your first time, it's like, oh, what more could we have done? Could we have done one extra, practice session more if we found one thing, or, if I could have shot, a few more bots here. Like, you never want to obviously have that hindsight, but it always is.
It's going to be in your mind.
Yeah. So that was the biggest thing for me, because I barely slept that night.
Okay, now break down the finals for us. But I had a feeling that you probably didn't sleep too much before that, because there's just way too much adrenaline to be able to actually properly sleep, and knowing you're competing for millions of dollars the next day, biggest match of the season of your life, essentially. So I knew it was gonna be crazy.
It'd be different if I was playing, but I don't know. At least Damon says this, and a bunch of other coaches I know that played professionally were just like, dude, coaching is just so much stressful because you just have no control. Like at a certain point, you're just like, I hope we do what we talked about.
Oh yeah. Hopefully follow the game plan.
But for the finals, like the Karachi hardpoint, Bandana Kenny just goes off. I mean, we win that Karachi hardpoint. That sets the tone. And was map 2? I guess map 2 was the Karachi search.
Yeah.
I don't know how we win the round 11, but that's going to go down as one of the more memorable round 11s ever. Yeah. I don't know how Ant makes the play, because we start the game 3v4, or start the round 3v4. We get blown up by New York famous nades where they never miss their nades, apparently.
Yeah.
And we complete the round 3v4. I don't know how they do it, but Ant somehow makes a play. AG wraps towards A. We get Paco coming up mid, and I don't know. That's the round you say, okay, that's some Destiny type shit right there. So
that gives you so much confidence.
Gave us a lot of confidence. We actually go into the Karachi control expecting to win it, because we're like really comfortable on it. And I think it was their veto for most of it. But unfortunately, for some reason, they always had our number on the Karachi control. So they beat us on that. And then what was map 4? Map 4 is the Rio. We're always comfortable on the Rio. And, AG and Ant just go completely off on that map. Then we have the Invasion Search. After the Invasion Search, which again was our bread and butter, that was our best map. It wasn't even close, like our most comfortable. After that search, I knew we were winning, because I was like, that was the moment I was like, okay, we have an invasion control up next, but going up 4-1 is like, I don't know. It's pretty convincing to me, especially when you win close maps like that, like the Karachi hardpoint and the Karachi search, where you win these close maps, you go up 4-1. Like, this could have easily been, going the other way if we had choked one or two situations.
Yeah.
And I just had all the confidence in the world. Like, once I saw Brandon, he like tilts his head back and he realizes that he wins or is going to win champs. And I was like, okay, they're probably not going to lose this. And then, we go up on the stage, invasion control. Last thing I hear on my headset is, we're not playing another fucking map by Brandon. Cause I was like, okay, we're fucking win this map. Cause Brandon has been trying to do this for 7 years. And that was the most confident thing I've ever heard him say. So, yeah, I mean, we win an offense to win round 5. It was just like the perfect storybook ending for the year. And it was awesome. Like, to share with those guys, like, obviously it was cool for me and Damon. Like, Damon obviously did get his 4th, but
yeah, it's just another day for Damon,
Yeah, just another day. But for us to see them get that victory for themselves, especially like Brandon, who's been working it for 7 years and got his first, and everyone was kind of like downing him, especially the last couple of years. AG to get his first, and the other two to, get their second. It was great to see for them.
Yeah, it was a crazy event. I only went Saturday when you guys played New York in Winners Finals, and that was like the loudest I heard an event ever, I feel like. So I can only imagine how crazy Sunday was. Like, I'm sure you probably had right the moment, like the winning moment, like the feeling you had. You're running down the ramp like you're in the WWE.
Dude, I'm sprinting.
Everyone's yelling. It's all green. Like it's that's like things that you're gonna tell your kids about. Like that story's gonna be passed down forever. They'll be like, "Yup, that's my great grandpa JP running down, meeting the boys when they won the world championship."
Meeting the boys.
That is crazy. But JP, that's it for me. Is there any people you want to give a shout out to before we wrap this up?
I mean, shout out Greenwall, obviously everyone supporting on the YouTube.
Yep.
Obviously your fans supporting and watching this.
Yep. Shout out Greenwall. Shout out the attachments.
Shout out my teammates. Shout out Damon. Shout out the players. Shout out the whole OpTic organization. But hey, appreciate you too for again, like I said before, that New York team helping me get on like the right foot to actually realize what the fuck's going on in Call of Duty at a competitive level. Yeah, always like for you, Lamar, those other guys, definitely for sure. Thank you guys for
bro.
Honestly, first taking the chance on me and like giving me that trust to begin with, like giving me that, not only the confidence, but the, I don't know what you call it, just like the access to everything.
Yeah.
Allowing me to like be in there, the scrims and stuff was honestly like super big. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Look at you now, world champion coach. But actually, before we go, let me make sure I got the wire for me before I can let you go. Got the wire, got the 2,500. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I see you
guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you watch on YouTube, any other platform, make sure to follow JP Krez on everything. Check out his streams, check out his YouTube videos. Link will be in the description, like I said earlier. Does a lot of good breakdowns and stuff of Call of Duty, more than just stats. Of course he does stats, but he's trying to break down the game in a deeper way so you guys can understand it, because stats do not mean everything. So make sure you guys definitely check out some of his content. JP, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on, man.
Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate you inviting me on.
Of course. Peace out, everyone.
Peace.